Hi, everyone. We're First Seed Sports. It is week 13 in the NFL. And this week you can see we're a little sparse on participation here. You know, it's getting around the holiday season. People are busy. So we don't have we don't have Mike with us and we don't have Dante with us. Kyle is with us. Um, but this week we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go with just a start episode this week because we don't have everyone here. So we're just going to look at our starts of the week. It's especially crucial right now. You know, we're getting down to the playoff time, getting down to those last crunch weeks where you got to get a win if you can get a win. So hopefully we can provide you with some information, some insight on who some of our favorite starts of the week are. So, um, Kyle, anything before we get started here?
I'm ready to get started.
All right, let's do it then. Kyle, I'm actually going to hand it to you first. Go ahead and give me who is your first start.
My first start of the week is good old Michael Pittman, wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. He had kind of a stinker last week, 4.8 PPR points, but I'm ready to look past that as his schedule just gets juicy. This week specifically, he gets Houston, and they have the sixth worst wide receiver defense for fantasy. And I mean, he still had 9 targets last week, and that is all you can ask for a receiver. So if you're kind of hurting at the wide receiver position, I'm very comfortable throwing Pittman into my lineups.
Yeah, I think that's a great start as well. I admittedly I got a little burnt by him last week. I threw him in there, and when he put up that weak performance that he did last week, it hurt a little bit, but he's still seeing that work, and I think he's a great start. I'm going to stay on the receiver train here. I'm actually going to go with Deebo Samuel, another young receiver who saw a ton of work last week. Now, admittedly, I want to say up front, I am a little bit worried. He is banged up right now. I believe he missed a practice this week. It might have even been today as we're recording this um,
Thursday.
on Thursday. So, yes, I believe it was today that he missed with a
Yeah.
hamstring, which is a little risky. It makes me pause a little bit, but this guy has missed, well, let's see, 4 of the last 5 weeks. So I think he's really kind of itching to get back out there, and I expect to see him out there. Not only that, he had a huge week last week. He had 13 targets and brought in 11 of those, which is unbelievable. And he's a beast after the catch. He went for 133 receiving, and a lot of that came on just little dump off screens or 5 yard passes that he ended up taking for 15, 20 yards at a pop. So I really like Deebo Samuel. Not to mention he plays Buffalo, which is a little bit of a shady matchup. But someone's got to get the rock, and it looks like last week Deebo Samuel kind of developed that connection with Nick Mullins, and I like him moving forward, especially this week. So Deebo Samuel is going to be one of my starts of the week.
I'm going to highlight two guys right here just because they're both tight ends. And I feel like the tight end position in general this year in fantasy is a wasteland.
It is.
So to get a couple guys that you can kind of play off the waivers, I feel like you're sitting comfortable. And I feel like waiver guys have been outperforming every single starter other than Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a different conversation. I hate tight ends in general. But this week, I specifically love Kyle Rudolph. They face the Jacksonville Jaguars, who is the second worst team against the tight end. Irv Smith potentially won't play. He's kind of trending downwards this week. And Kirk Cousins loves targeting him when he's the only tight end on the field, not named Irv Smith. And it's working for him. I mean, last week he had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 68 yards. I was a solid outing for a streaming tight end, and you can kind of stick with him again this week if you're hurting that tight end position, like almost everybody is. And then my next guy is Jordan Reed. A little odd. He's not really hot this year at all. He had that 1 week, what was it, week 2 against the Jets where he had 24 points. But besides that, it's been really rough with an injury and just kind of being out targeted. But the past 2 games that he's been in, he's had 6 targets, both. He hasn't been catching a lot of them, but I think this week against Buffalo, who has given up a lot of points to the tight end position, I think he's kind of a spot start, especially if you're hurt and Kyle Rudolph isn't available. I feel like Jordan Reed could have a very good week this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I think one thing that is important to know also is that it's week 13, but there are 2 teams still on a bye. So if you can, if you need to play the waiver wire, Panthers don't really matter that they're on a bye this week because you're probably not starting Ian Thomas every week. But with Gronk, you're probably starting Gronk. So especially with his late season resurgence that he's seen. So if that's the case, you're going to be needing a tight end this week, and those two guys are a great option to look forward to. I'm actually also going to provide a tight end option, and it's one that's probably owned in a lot of leagues. I for whatever reason though, he is still floating around out there sometimes, and that's Robert Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers. He has seen a really, really nice increase in work over the last couple of weeks. It felt fluky for a little while there because he had that one big week and then he kind of disappeared and had a bunch of smaller weeks. But he seems to be reestablishing his role in Aaron Rodgers' offense. He had 5 targets in both the last week and caught all 5 of those targets for 44 yards and 67 yards, which gives him a nice floor of about 10 points. And from the tight end position, that's all you can really ask for. But the thing that really puts him over the top is if he gets into the end zone, which he has done both of the last 2 weeks. He had a touchdown in week 11 against the Colts, and he had a touchdown in week 12 against the Bears. So, and this week with a favorable matchup against the Eagles, I could see him going for that 10-plus range again. So, if he is out there, I definitely recommend picking him up. If not, if you own him, I would definitely throw him in there and start him without hesitation.
Definitely.
So, the other one last thing before I move on from the Packers, I just want to also mention Allen Lazard. He's someone who's probably out there on waivers as well because he's been out for so long and he's coming back from a core muscle or an abdominal muscle surgery. And he played extremely well in his return last week. So I only look for him to improve and to get better as a player. Because he is without a doubt one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets out there, obviously behind Devontae Adams. But I think if Rodgers has a choice, he's going to go to Lazard over an MVS or over an Equanimeous St. Brown, one of those guys. So I'm pretty high on Lazard as well. So Tonyan and Lazard. And then last one I'm going to end it off with, Kyle, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have anything to add about the Packers there?
No, I just was going to say that you've been holding on to Lazard for 20 weeks now, and you love them. But I love them both, and if I see Lazard on the waivers, I probably am definitely adding him. I probably would have looked for him last week too, just because that wide receiver 2 in Green Bay's offense typically isn't great, but for some reason Rodgers loves Lazard, and he's going to do well this season.
Yeah, and he's just a dude too. He's tough. He's really, really tough. He's a football guy. And he's a guy to see out there and watch him play. He's fun to watch. So, okay. The last guy I want to mention is David Montgomery. And David Montgomery had quite a week last week. He's been a mess this season. He's just been up and down. And I've kind of held on to the train as best as I could because I've just been waiting. I think that there's a really quality running back in there somewhere. I'm just kind of unsure whether he's stuck in Chicagoland and that's why, or what's going on there. But this week I'm pretty high on him because he faces a very weak Detroit rush defense. We saw last week a great performance against Detroit, and that's from the Texans. So they're obviously a reeling defense. They just lost their head coach. They're probably looking for a little bit of an identity. So I'm looking for David Montgomery to have another big week this week. And he also last week has seen an uptick in his receiving work. This past week he saw, let me get the numbers up in front of me. He saw 6 targets and he had 5 receptions, which is among his highest that he's had all season. He generally sees about 3 to 5 targets a game. So anytime he gets over that 5 target threshold, I'm really liking what he's doing. So he's quietly the 15th PPR running back, which is a respectable number for sure. And his workload this past week was an 86% snap count. So all of those things combined, he one last thing, he also rushed for 9.4 yards per carry this week, which is huge. So if he can do that again moving forward, especially against a weak Detroit defense, I like him a lot this week.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what he did last week against a really bad Green Bay rushing defense, and he gets an even worse Detroit rushing defense. And I love the outlook. And to be honest, moving forward, he's got Houston after that, and then Minnesota. His playoff schedule is beautiful. I Things are looking good for Montgomery rest of season, but this week and next week are gonna be gold for him. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yeah, if trading is still, he's definitely not on waivers unless someone is really pissed off at him for whatever reason. But if your trade deadline hasn't passed yet, he's a guy to definitely go out and target. And maybe you can point out his low production all season and end up swapping a wide receiver 2 for him, which would be a steal because I think he could be a league winner for you. All right, well, Kyle, that's it. We're nice and brief today. We got three starts from both of us, and that's it. We're not going to get into sits or anything. You have anything else you want to add?
No, I just kind of wish everyone best of luck in their final matchups before the playoffs. Hopefully you're in, and hopefully you're playing for a solid seed, and hopefully playing for the first seed
Absolutely.
in your playoffs.
Yeah, that's what we hope for. Hopefully we were able to get you there this season, and hopefully we'll be able to carry you from the next couple of weeks into your championship. So stay tuned. We'll be back next week with some more content, especially for playoffs. Well, hopefully we can give you guys that little bump that you need to get over the hump and get into the championship. So, Kyle, if you don't have anything else, that's all I got.
That's all I've got.
All right. Well, for Kyle, I'm Zach. Also signing off from Mike and Dante, who aren't here. That's all we got, guys. Good luck this week. We'll see you in week 14.
Good luck.